Oh, oh, sorry. I never added myself to the stage.
Oh, there you go. It says it's recording though. So,
Hey, so I
hello,
guess we go.
hello, welcome to the 34th episode. See, the reason why we can start to get this uh good track record, this good streak where I've not been screwing up the numbers is because None has been the one that's been setting up the recordings and he puts exactly which episode's up there. So, welcome. And hello, welcome to the
Like,
34th.
imagine if we just put like the bare modicum of preparation at all into doing this, how much better we'd be at it. Oh well, one day.
I mean, my idea of preparation is getting read up on the news that I think is interesting and should be is worth dissecting. I mean, I,
Well, buddy, after the shit show of a day I had today, it was brutal. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to get my ass chewed out by my boss.
oh wow,
So I'm in the mood for a bit of this and a bit of trashing some globalist scumbags. So let's go.
let's trash some globalist scumbags. And so the things that I really want to talk about, and I really try to do my homework and try to make sure that I can explain what it is that is going on with the AI boom, the AI market, and then or the AI bubble, as people are as people are calling it. Let's see if I can find the chart that I had. This is
So
not the
what's the
chart.
topic?
Here it is. Okay. So for starters, the first things first, right? The first thing I really want to talk about, the stuff that I did the most, spent the most of my bandwidth researching this time around, was the AI bubble. So, AI has been uh, all the rage for a while now, right? It's been like for a couple of years now. We always hear about Chat GPT. We constantly hear about all this Grok stuff. And anyway, so the um, last episode I tried to explain this this weird incestuous circle where these companies are starting to sort of buy up their competitors, but I feel like I didn't do as good of a job of explaining it. So I ended up, going a little bit more in depth on that. Anyway, so basically, I'll just read a tiny bit of this article. 2 weeks ago, NVIDIA Corporation agreed to invest as much as $100 billion in OpenAI to help the leading AI startup fund a data center build out so massive it could power a major city. OpenAI, in turn, committed to filling those sites with millions of NVIDIA chips. The arrangement was promptly criticized for its circular nature. This week, undeterred, OpenAI struck a similar deal. The ChatGPT maker on Monday inked a partnership with NVIDIA rival AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, to deploy tens of billions of dollars worth of its chips as part of the tie-up. OpenAI is poised to become one of AMD's largest shareholders. Okay, never before has so much money been spent so rapidly on a technology that, for all its potential, remains largely unproven as an avenue for profit making. And often these investments can be tracked back to two leading firms, NVIDIA and OpenAI. The recent wave of deals and partnerships involving the two are escalating concerns that increasingly complex and interconnected web of business transactions is artificially propping up the trillion-dollar AI boom. At stake is virtually every corner of the economy, with the hype and build-out of AI infrastructure rippling across markets from debt and equity to real estate and energy. So here's here's this little chart: how NVIDIA and OpenAI fuel the AI money machine. So basically, this is the I've heard the reading I've been doing says that the best way to describe, the best way to uh, think about the AI boom is kind of like the dot-com bubble. But in the case of the dot-com bubble, it was investors themselves that were inflating this bubble. They were there was a lot of situations where you had uh, nice, flashy looking websites and nice ideas that nobody figured out how to monetize. And, the dot-com bubble burst, as we all know. However, out of that dot-com boom, right, as it was, there were some winners. There were some major winners, like, the Amazons and stuff. So what's going on right now? So how is this bubble being inflated? This bubble is actually being inflated from the inside. It's being inflated by NVIDIA and OpenAI and Oracle. Last time I said Cisco on accident. So
I'd agree with that.
here's how these companies are paying themselves, right? So here's how it goes.
Why am I getting an echo?
Oh, shoot. I know exactly why you're getting an echo.
Oh, okay.
It should be gone now.
I must say that you've done a lot more research than I have on this for this week's episode. I was too busy fucking up everything at work, but I like this little kind of plot diagram you got here.
Right. Yeah, I had to hunt it down. So anyway,
well, so I agree with you. Or do you want to finish your thought?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You put in your 2 cents, of course.
Well, I go back to I remember the .com bubble really, really well, and like at that time, the internet was still new. And none of us knew what, like, we didn't, the saying, I don't know what I don't know. We didn't know what we didn't know about what potential, use cases there could be for the internet. So at that time, everybody had an IPO. Every little stupid idea that somebody had became an IPO. So yeah, I would say that the internet was more driven by entrepreneurs who, had an idea that they thought they could monetize, and to your point, lots did, but most didn't. And
I think that the missing link here is what you did not mention is the investors, because it was the investors themselves that were were just as undereducated.
Well, no question. Like I was guilty as anybody. You had people throwing money in like these really stupid ideas just based on the notion that it could be possible via the internet. Like and this comes with age and wisdom too. Like I was investing in shit back then and I'm an accountant, and I had no interest whatsoever in looking at a P&L or anything like that. It's kind of like, oh yeah, that's all just sunk costs. It's nothing to the moon here. And that was kind of the euphoria that there was in the market, because again, we were all using this new technology for the first time, and we knew it was really cool, and we knew it had a lot of potential uses, but we didn't quite know what that meant yet. And that's what I see with AI. But I will agree with you. It's more so driven from the big companies now. It's how do we kind of throw out use cases or whatever. And I could be wrong on this, but
the whole thing with AI recently is kind of the big news broke that ChatGPT. So the way that they were doing this, I was watching a video. Somebody explained it in a way that I won't be able to explain. I wish I had that video. But anyway, they explained that ChatGPT 1 through, was it 3, used kind of a limited language model. And then they decided, what happens if we throw away these limits, these artificially imposed limits, because they kind of had this idea that you don't want things to become too messy. So you want to tailor the data sets. But they were like, let's throw that out and let's just do a large language model instead. So these data sets can draw upon a lot more data. And they had caught ChatGPT 4, and it was revolutionary. The difference between ChatGPT 3 and ChatGPT 4 was massive. And so the idea was, they got this idea that, hey, you know what? What if the sky's the limit? What if this is what's going to be the future? So large language models are in. Everybody starts hyper competing with this new technology, just like with the .com thing, where they didn't quite understand it quite yet. And after investing, because OpenAI still hasn't really turned a profit. So investing heavily into this like back infrastructure, now we're running into this problem where actually we have reached the point of diminishing returns. What they tried to do is, with like the ChatGPT 5 or something, is they tried to see if they could have it look at a bunch of poker hands and to learn how to play poker, to teach itself, see if it could teach itself to play poker by absorbing massive amounts of data sets of poker hands and all this stuff. And they found that no, it can't do that. And so most likely the way that the AI, the tool of the large language model, is going to be implemented in the future is going to be a mix of bespoke programming with a large language thing that it can also do. So let's say, already in things like YouTube and in some video games, there's such thing as like self-writing, self-correcting software. So you could have something like that where you could employ this, or you employ it at the top. This could be your, I don't know, let's say for the first time ever, all of those fantasies that Infinity Engine developers from the 90s had of, what if we could have a dungeon master? So I've never really played Dungeons and Dragons, but the way that I understand it is like, it's like you have this guy who's like the dungeon master, and because it's a human, he can creatively tailor the challenges and all this other stuff that comes up and that the players themselves that are role playing have to deal with. So like you could maybe do something like that where you have everything else as a program, and then you have a large language model that is super hyper focused on doing one specific thing. However, in order to make sure that they can shore up their bases, what's happening is NVIDIA and OpenAI are doing this crazy thing. So here, let me try to explain. So NVIDIA invests $100 billion in OpenAI, which raises NVIDIA's stock hardcore. Then B, OpenAI turns around and makes a $300 billion deal with Oracle to use data centers, for OpenAI. C, then Oracle announces that they're going to buy $40 billion worth of NVIDIA chips to power these data centers. So you see where this is going. Okay, then D, NVIDIA invests $6.3 billion in CoreWeave. CoreWeave is this company with a bunch of NVIDIA chips. They, at some point in time, they were part of the mining boom. Mining boom went bust, and now they have a bunch of chips, and they're getting this massive investment. And what are they going to do with this massive investment? That's right. They're turning around and they're going to buy more chips from NVIDIA. So then, meanwhile, as a part of a deal between NVIDIA's main competitor, AMD, like we were just reading, OpenAI takes a 10% ownership of AMD. So this is supposed to be their main competitor. They're all kind of in this like incestuous pull together. Then, meanwhile, AMD turns around and makes a deal with Oracle. So OpenAI just invested in, just bought 10% of AMD, right? By the way, they bought it with a sweetheart deal. AMD sold them shares at something like a penny a share. So it's crazy. And then meanwhile, AMD makes a deal with Oracle, the data center people, to create data centers using AMD's chips. But these are going to be used by OpenAI for OpenAI data centers. So that's kind of what you see here on this chart, right? So like NVIDIA, Microsoft is not, okay, so let's say NVIDIA and OpenAI, right? NVIDIA, 4.5 trillion, OpenAI, 500 billion. So this is what they're doing. They're each investing. Here, OpenAI is investing in CoreWeave, the company that buys a bunch of NVIDIA chips. NVIDIA is investing in CoreWeave, the company that's going to be buying their own chips. AMD is investing in a bunch of their own AI stuff. So they're like trying to hop up, like they're mopping up these little websites or something from back in the day. And meanwhile, OpenAI, so this is where you see OpenAI links $300 billion deal with Oracle. Oracle spends billions of these dollars on NVIDIA's chips. So you see how it's all going in a huge incestuous circle. Meanwhile, OpenAI is investing in other AI things. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to create the market. They're trying to create the backbone. And I was listening to a blogger explain that NVIDIA has already kind of, this is actually NVIDIA's business model. They've already kind of tried to do this before. And a good example is CUDA. So for those that don't know, a while back, maybe like 2007, 2008, NVIDIA, did some forward thinking, and they're like, okay, you know what else can we use our graphics processing technology for? And they, were like, okay, things like, for example, scientific fluid calculations, things that are easily parallelizable across thousands and thousands of cores. And that's kind of what they would do. You would just buy NVIDIA GPUs, graphics processing units, and you would just stick them into like server racks. But the thing is that the programming model for this powerful new computational resource, it was a proprietary NVIDIA programming model. So what did they do? In order to corner the market early, they went around to universities and research places, and they were like, okay, we're just gonna give this to you, but you're going to have to learn how to use our new programming language, CUDA. Today, fast forward to today, CUDA is almost a universal way that this gets done. Like NVIDIA's main competitor kind of has an answer to it, but they kind of don't. And the problem is the adoption. Even when they make their programming model free, you went to university for 4 years learning all this stuff. Go ahead.
Time out. Well, in terms of monopoly, I think I need to say kudos to you.
Kudos to you. Yeah, good job. Very, very smart.
I needed a good laugh after this shitty day of mine. Okay. You're getting too in the weeds.
Okay.
A bit for me. Bring it up a level so us old men can understand what you're talking about, young whippersnapper, with all of this AI talk.
Yeah. So the thing is, everybody, the writing is increasingly on the wall.
I just aged myself by 20 years.
The writing is increasingly on the wall for the AI hype, right? The boom is a bubble. We can see that, and it's being inflated on purpose. And it's being inflated on purpose for the same reason, by using NVIDIA's genius attempt to try to corner the market. So this is kind of like their way of trying to do this. But AMD's not to be like left in the dust, but the cost for that is massive investment into this massive scheme that is going on right now. You're selling your shares. I don't remember what AMD's shares are, but like they're definitely not 1 cent, right? AMD's doing really great right now. I think they might be like $200 a share. So basically, there's something afoot. They know what they're doing. There's something going on, and this whole massive thing it stinks of like a cartel. You know what a cartel is? It's where you have independent players. Nothing. And they agree not to. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like.
But that's kind of the U.S. strategy. I mean, they're very open about this, right? Like, to your point, all of these companies right now are trying to build the backbone, as you said. They're all kind of coordinating and working with one another in order to build some of those backbones, because the overall American strategy is to own the chip market, is it not? So I think they're following the plan, and you can't really fault them for that. I think, though, ultimately what'll happen is there a bubble? No doubt. But they're going to end up building a lot of infrastructure that will ultimately be of some use to the future, right?
Well, I think they'll be too big to fail. I think what will happen.
Oh, for sure. No doubt.
OpenAI is going to be.
Here's my theory. I'll bet you in 20 years' time, a lot of these companies will also be utilities providers, because they're just going to be like, holy shit, we built all of these SMRs and nuclear reactors because we thought we'd be feeding this AI boom, which we just figured out a way to make it a lot more efficient over time. Yet we've got all this infrastructure now. Might as well start generating electricity and selling it back to the grid. That's what's going to happen.
And
you'll get your electricity bill from like Meta.
Well, that's another thing. They have to expand power plants, because all of this stuff is energy hungry. So just another ring back to the old .com boom. Today's AI firms have tangible products and customers. but their spending is still
Sure.
outpacing monetization.
Right.
So
Exactly.
you have a product, you just don't know exactly quite how to monetize it yet. And that's why OpenAI, I think even right now, is too big to fail. I think OpenAI there's been some kind of decision made where they're getting some serious backing. That's how they are able to pull this off. Okay. Now, so that's okay. What are we doing on time? 20 minutes. Okay. All right. Next story. So my next story that I want to hit on, there's 3 that I really want to hit on, and then I have a couple of other ones. But the next thing we're going to talk about is Dick Cheney. So I'm sure everybody's heard, at age of 85 or something, Dick Cheney has croaked. He has passed away, and leaving behind a legacy of neocon warmongering and American supremacy. And not only that, but this guy is responsible, obviously, for helping undermine American soft power long term. And I found a great video talking about this that I would really love to share. It's this. So this is the Burning Archive. By the way, Nandi, you might want to mute yourself whenever I start playing the video, because it might start echoing you whenever you talk.
Okay.
But anyway, so this guy. So we're gonna start about 10 minutes in, actually, maybe like 9:30 or something. What a lot of people don't understand, and as you can see what this video is titled, how Dick Cheney started the USA war in Ukraine in 1991. What a lot of people, including myself, didn't really know was Dick Cheney's role in creating this, creating the disaster we see in Ukraine today. His hands were all over that as well. So let's give it a go.
91, which really accelerated the disintegration and the sort of the revolt of the barons, if you like, of Yeltsin and Kravchuk and the other, the Belarusian Republic as well. But in June 1991, the White House is conferring on the Soviet Union in the Situation Room of the White House. James Baker, the Secretary of State, the one who promised to Gorbachev not to move NATO 1 inch eastward from Berlin, he and the State Department advocated respect for and engagement with Gorbachev. And they argued that a preservation of a reformed and federated Soviet Union with a common economic space would not clash with American security interests. Dick Cheney, and here I'm quoting, Dick Cheney and his Pentagon aides welcomed the breakup of the Soviet Empire. How many times since have we heard that? And argued that Gorbachev should be pressed to abandon the Soviet client states in Cuba and Afghanistan, reduce the USSR's nuclear armaments, and start dismantling the military-industrial complex. He wanted to demilitarize the Soviet Union, if I can quote one of the aims of the special military operation. And the Treasury Secretary similarly argued a similar kind of thing. Indeed, the Treasury Secretary, what was his name? Nicholas Brady? I think it was Nicholas Brady. Yes, Nicholas Brady actually explicitly said that they should not give the Soviet Union the aid that they're asking for. It would be an absolute disaster, he said. And Zubok says here, at the same time, Brady...
Which we know that's how it panned out. If anybody in our audience has listened to Jeffrey Sachs, he's always said that, listen, during the... what is it? During the... here, let me mute this so that you...
Could I just say...
Go ahead.
Just curse you for making me listen to an old British man for 10 minutes. Please continue.
But this British man is all right. But okay, so continuing. Oh, right. We gotta unmute.
Involved is Candor articulated the American strategic priority. What is involved is changing Soviet society so that it can't afford a defense system. If the Soviets go to a market system, then they can afford a large defense establishment. A real reform program would turn them into a third-rate power, which is what we want. there we go. That was Nicholas Brady, but it was also very much the view, except Dick Cheney was the more muscular and military version of the same argument.
I think he's
let's skip
Aussie.
ahead.
What?
Yeah, he's not British. He's Aussie, I think. Sorry.
Sorry.
To September 1991, which is after the coup in Russia, and which was a
So the coup, he's referring to the attempted coup of Gorbachev.
terrible,
Or New Zealand.
you know, destroyed Gorbachev's authority, I guess. But just before that, before September 1991, President George Bush the Elder had, or I can never quite remember what, H.W. Bush, I think it is.
Yes.
He went to Ukraine and gave a speech in the Ukrainian Rada, which was mocked as the Chicken Kiev speech, in which he openly argued it was a mistake to break up the Soviet Union.
Well, now I'm here in South Africa. I don't know what the hell this. Okay, sorry.
But I don't know. What I think is that this last part that he said,
speech in which he openly argued it was
the whole Chicken Kiev speech, and we've heard about the Chicken Kiev speech, especially since the Ukraine war, right? And he describes here, right? It's he openly said that it's not going to be a good idea for the Ukrainians to follow their extreme nationalistic impulses of a certain minority of the country, and that it's more wise for them to remain as part of the USSR. So that kind of really puts a different light on the George Bush's and Secretary Jim Baker's promises not to move NATO to the east. So it looks like that was actually in consideration. That was kind of like the plan, but the Dick Cheneys and the neocons, this is where they start to gain a massive influence.
The mistake to break up the Soviet Union. Many over the last year or so, a few people have highlighted this speech on YouTube and other social media commentary on the Russia-Ukraine NATO war. And it was a foresightful speech. But it was not a speech that Dick Cheney agreed with. And it was occurring amidst revolt in the Baltic states, proposals for a recognition vote for Ukrainian independence, and a whole series of issues. And then on the 4th of September, here I quote again from Vladislav Zubok's book.
Just a quick reminder for those that maybe have forgotten. The Ukrainians voted overwhelmingly to stay in the Soviet Union. And when that was the result that we didn't like, we ended up running the referendum again with better propaganda to try to get the result that we wanted. So try again, vote again.
Bush
voted wrong.
And his cabinet debated whether a weak Soviet Union or its breakup would best serve American interests. We were split, badly split, Brent Scowcroft recalled. The Pentagon's chief, Dick Cheney, publicly advocated abandoning Gorbachev for Yeltsin, who was a real Democrat and embraced Western values. Cheney supported the appeal from the Ukrainian American organizations and the National Endowment for Democracy. We know about them, especially through the work of Brian Valetic, the National Endowment for Democracy, to recognize Ukrainian independence. So there he is, advocating regime change and destabilization, and going against the wiser counsel of his president, indeed, to
could be from Zimbabwe.
I can say he's British.
Encourage destabilization. Ever since 1991, destabilization has been the rule of the road for American foreign policy.
The Brits have like the most different accents, different British accents. Like it's not as different. Like you go to like Australia, okay, there's like South Australian, but you go to like the UK, there's just way more. Like there's a lot more.
Let us know in the comments below. Where is this old mutt from?
Where's this dude from?
Next day, there is a debate in the White House on this very issue. And this is how Vladislav Zubok, who's examined the archival documents, classified.
He's Vladislav Zubok he's quoting from his book. This guy examined Soviet and American archives, including classified archives, for his book.
archival documents recalls it. And this is a very critical paragraph, I think, that really goes to Dick Cheney's responsibility for this war, and tells you something about both how foreign policy is made by competing arguments, but also, I guess, the nature of the disposition of American decision-making. So the Ukrainian controversy was discussed in the White House on 5 September. Bush opened the meeting by admitting that the declaration of independence by other republics, quote, was a complex issue. There were smaller autonomous regions inside the Russian Federation and other republics, and all of them were threatening to secede. The president's uncertainty prompted Cheney to argue again for an, quote, aggressive approach. The United States, he said, must use its enormous leverage in the Soviet space to break it apart.
That's what we should be using our enormous leverage for.
Quote, we could get an authoritarian.
The Russians are trusting us right now. We have the opportunity to sucker them. I mean, that's how the Russians view it.
Regime in Russia. Still, he said, I am concerned that a year or so from now, if it all goes sour, how we can answer that we did not do more. The old, we should have done more argument. The full record of the discussion remains classified. There's something Donald Trump could do rather more useful than JFK files.
I got it.
Why don't you declassify the full record?
I'm going back to Australia, but he's a gay Australian. And the thing about it is, most Aussie men are men. I might have a beer, whatever. It's a very that kind of culture. But I think he's a homosexual Aussie, and that's what's making me think he could be from Britain or South Africa, because they're all a bunch of queens, right? So I'll go back to yes, he's definitely Aussie, but a homosexual.
All right, let's look it up right now. Jeff Rich, no, English drummer. Jeff Rich, podcaster. He's gonna tell us. Well, I think I just saw it. Let's find out. Yeah, I think author and ex-government official. So he's an ex-government official from somewhere. So she'll be able to find him. This is Substack.
Why are we looking for this guy now?
Because I think he's British. You say he's not. You say he's Aussie.
Keep the video going. I'll look for him.
All right, fine.
Of the American involvement in the collapse of the Soviet Union.
There's one more part I want to hear.
Russia had never existed as a democratic country, and most likely it would not become one. The recognition of an independent Ukraine would be a good policy in any case. If democracy fails, we're better off if the Russians, are small. Baker, the Secretary of State, reminded Cheney of the other horn of the dilemma. What if the breakup led to violence? We don't want another Yugoslavia, Scowcroft recalled. Baker thought it was important that we try to keep the Soviet Union together, principally because of command and control over the nuclear forces. I thought we were better off with a broken up Soviet Union because it would, quote, fractionate, whatever that is, the Soviet nuclear forces, and a large part of them we could stop worrying about. Scowcroft, however, disagreed with Cheney. If the US openly backed Soviet disintegration, Scowcroft reasoned, it would almost guarantee long-term hostility on the part of most Russians who constituted the majority of the Soviet Union. In the end, he recalled, we took no position at all. We simply let things happen. Well, I don't think Dick Cheney entirely let things happen ever, really, don't you think? So there you go. And as that implies, nuclear weapons were very much in play in this situation. There was an active debate in 1991 about what to do with the nuclear weapons. And the president and James Baker were very clear that for the sake of stability and nuclear, non-proliferation and all that sort of thing, those nuclear weapons should stay with one principal stable state. But Dick Cheney did not agree, of course. There was also uncertainty about the future of nuclear weapons located on Ukrainian territory. On 5th of September, the meeting in the White House between senior American officials had addressed this concern. Colin Powell, from weapons of mass destruction fame, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said, "We want to see the dissolution of the old Soviet Union." Yet who would ensure the safety of nuclear weapons in Ukraine, Belarus and Kazakhstan if the Soviet military would move back to Russia? Bent Scowcroft had supported Dick Cheney's idea of fracturing the Soviet nuclear arsenal. "It did not bother me," Scowcroft recalled, "that the Ukraine may have nuclear weapons, or Kazakhstan, because under no circumstances were they going to be pointed at us." Again, Cheney is really
I think that's a key phrase.
again, seeding part of the conflict. In February 2022, Zelensky raised this whole issue of Ukraine should get its nuclear weapons back, as you can see. That was very much not exactly the correct situation. And then finally, we go to November, December 1991, just weeks, indeed, before the final end of the Soviet Union. And here it's really debating the question of should the United States recognize the independence of Ukraine as a republic, as a state. By mid-November, all US diplomatic and intelligence agencies concurred that the referendum of 1 December would confirm Ukraine's independence. For Bush and Scowcroft, however, the vote posed a problem. Ukraine's voters, quote, "almost certainly would vote for sovereignty," recalled Scowcroft, "but not necessarily independent from the Soviet Union. What became clear to me was that Boris Yeltsin, who should really be blamed much more for the breakup of the Soviet Union and the disaster of the 1990s than Mikhail Gorbachev, in my opinion, but Yeltsin was maneuvering so that the Ukraine would be the proximate cause of the breakup of the Soviet Union. Should the US therefore announce its recognition of Ukraine straight away and thus set the final breakup of the USSR in motion? It had a choice at this moment. It could have followed Bush the Elder's sensible advice of you dance with who is on the dance floor and you do not encourage destabilization. But Dick Cheney was in the room. Dick Cheney and his deputies in the Pentagon proposed just that. That is the final breakup of the USSR. This, they argued, was, quote, an insurance policy against a, quote, retrograde Russia. Without Ukraine's enormous resources, population and geography, a Pentagon official recalled, Russia, quote, would never become the threat posed by the Soviet Union. The Secretary of State, James Baker, however, continued to object. An immediate recognition of Ukraine, he argued, would destroy any chance for confederal and even bilateral arrangements that would make a peaceful transition possible. One had to be certain, he said, that Ukraine's referendum would not trigger, quote, further fragmentation of a Ukrainian state. Baker heeded Shevardnadze, the Soviet Union's foreign minister, later president of Georgia, Shevardnadze's warning of a possible conflict over Crimea, Donbass, and eastern Ukraine. The writing was on the wall in 1991, and the US chose, as Dick Cheney said, an aggressive strategy.
So back then, already, we had been warned. This is what this is going to lead to. Guess what? As we can see, Dick Cheney was hell-bent on the disassembling, the dismantling of the Soviet Union. Sure, and sure. I mean, don't forget that Dick Cheney, before he was in the administration, he was like the CEO of major oil companies. So you could see how through like the notorious revolving door, how well he wanted to throw a bone back to his pals in the industry, and for a while, we were able to do that so to a certain extent.
Well, let's not kid ourselves, right? Like Dick Cheney and George H.W. Bush. These are two of the OG globalists, right, from back in the day. This is the deep state, right? Yes. These are the elites, right? So to your point, you can't get any more globalist elite than the former CEO of Halliburton, right? Yeah. And the former Secretary of Defense and the former Vice President. Like this guy for decades was a neocon through and through, but did his job wildly well. Like that was his role, to go in and warmonger and take whatever they could. And America was largely successful. And, so you can't fault Cheney for that. He was a scumbag, but I guess he was our scumbag, as they say, so.
He's our bastard.
Right. So, did I like Dick Cheney? Of course not. Like, he was Darth Vader, but I could never fault him for doing exactly what he was put in place to do.
I think he was Darth Sidious. He was more like Darth Sidious. I think Darth Vader was like, well, you can't say George Bush Jr. was Darth Vader. Maybe George Bush Sr. was Darth Vader. I don't know.
No.
George Bush Jr. is too dumb to be an evil Sith Lord, I think.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Okay. Sidious, sure. But I mean, like, they all are, right? These are a bunch of just immoral people who care about, them and them alone. So
yeah, and they are the bloodshed. Think about all the bloodshed that this man was responsible for. And I think when somebody like Vladimir Putin comes out and he says the vampire's ball is over, this is kind of what he means. He means these guys. You don't get to just have your way anymore. So this is a pro-Ukrainian Substack blog. I'm already seeing some Ukrainian watchers describe former U.S. Vice President Richard Dick Cheney, who died today, as a, quote, friend of Ukraine. They're not entirely wrong, but not entirely right either. Cheney's record
hold on.
a lot.
I wanted to note, yes, that man is from Australia, and no, I found no reference anywhere for a wife or kids. To quote Candace, I don't know, but I know.
He was an ex-politician. He was an ex-politician, so maybe it's like a...
Okay, sorry.
But, okay, Australia, we hunted him down. We know where you're from, Jeff.
Effeminate Brit. He's an effeminate Aussie, aka a normal Brit.
See, that's why I thought he was British. That's probably why I thought he was British.
I couldn't quite get it, but now that you put it together, it's like, yeah, I could see South African or British for sure. Yeah.
Cheney's record shows a long-standing commitment to Ukrainian independence and resistance to Russian domination and empire. True. But his motivations were rooted more in strategic realism than solidarity with Ukrainians, never mind love of democracy. During the decade following 9/11, I watched up close the handiwork of Cheney and his boss, George H.W. Bush. Wait, that wasn't 9/11, right? H.W. Bush, that's George Sr. During those years, I lived in and covered Central Asia and Afghanistan, and I can assure you that Cheney and company were much more in love with power, money, and U.S. strategic influence in the former Soviet Union Afghanistan, and Pakistan than they were fighting for democracy and human rights. Cheney was the real president for a while. Okay, this is stuff that everybody kind of knows, right? In reality, for a while, Cheney was the president of the USA, at least when it came to foreign policy. In the aftermath of the attacks on the Twin Towers on September 11, 2025, Dick Cheney had a free hand in and around Afghanistan. He met no resistance for three reasons. One, U.S. was in shock. 9/11 was the first time Americans had been attacked by outside terrorists on that scale. Debatable. And Americans were scared and wanted revenge and were willing to look the other way for a while at least. Basically, for 5 to 6 years, till the Iraq quagmire became too glaring to ignore. Jeez, man, this guy, I didn't notice this many mistakes the first time I read this. Secondly,
this is terribly written.
Secondly, Cheney had a free hand inside the U.S. government. Rather, he had surrounded the president with his own allies, National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of Defense Don Rumsfeld, Rumsfeld's influential advisor Richard Pearl, with the chilling nickname Prince of Darkness, and President Bush himself. Don't make me laugh. President George Herbert Walker Bush was clueless. Stan who? W is supposed to have. Go ahead.
Get rid of this guy, man. He's clueless. Like he's forgetting the fact that all of these people were installed in those positions by the establishment, right? So they didn't have to, hoodwink George W. Bush or anybody else. They were all put there purposely for a reason. This guy still thinks that politics matters or something. Yeah, close him down. He's not worth looking at.
Okay, the important part I think of this, or the one that I kind of want to show is these guys, because this is pro-Ukrainian blog, right?
Sure.
So their estimation on Cheney's influence in the 1990s, 91, right? So George H.W. Bush, GSW's father, delivered the infamous Chicken Kiev speech. We just heard about that. Remarks were written, amongst others, Condoleezza Rice, the older Bush's security advisor, Brent Scowcraft, and were based on the naive hope that just about still the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev could manage peaceful, stable reforms within a continued Soviet Union. Dick Cheney was the older Bush's Secretary of Defense at that point. In 91, he strongly disagreed with the line of the Chicken Kiev speech. In his memoir, In My Time, 2011, Cheney recalled, by summer of 1991, I believed the Soviet Union was coming apart and that we ought to accept that reality and start building relationships with the republics that would replace it. Telling Ukrainians not to seek full independence struck me as a mistake, Cheney wrote. He saw Ukrainian independence not as a threat, but as an inevitable and strategically useful outcome for the U.S. and NATO. So there's more that they talk about with Cheney's obsession with Russia and just the neocon obsession with Russia in general. It's not just Cheney who's obsessed with them. But basically, I think that one part of Cheney's legacy that we I was kind of like not totally aware of was his influence in how we started to go down the wrong path of how where we ended up today, you know? So basically,
that whole crew from back in the day, Cheney, Wolfowitz, remember all these clowns?
Yeah.
They've been lingering around like farts in church for decades now. And, you know, their intent has always been the same. So I don't think anything that that author is saying is shocking or anything. I think we all knew what Cheney was, and he was effective at it. I'll give it to them. Give the guy credit for that.
He was an effective operator, that's for sure. He got his way. Yeah, he made. Yeah. Even this. So this is what is this, history.com. Don't go to this website, but anyway. They're going to tell you 5 different ways that Dick Cheney was very influential. Number 1, redefining the role of vice president when then candidate W. Bush asked Cheney to help vet and select a running mate ahead of the 2000 presidential elections. Cheney agreed. After evaluating various candidates through a process he controlled, he consented to Bush's request that he take the role himself with the qualification that the job would be much more than ceremonial. It was a pattern that would repeat through Bush's presidency as Cheney made sure he was present during key decisions to shape the information being presented and offer influential advice at the right moment. Throughout their 2 terms, Bush and Cheney shared weekly lunchtime strategy sessions. Cheney maintained offices in the West Wing near the Senate House chambers in the U.S. Capitol, giving him access to the centers of power where key decisions were being made. This is the vice president. He helped shape the U.S. response to 9/11. In the aftermath of 9/11, Cheney was consistently a key player in shaping the U.S. response, as Bush framed it as a war not against a specific terrorist group or country, but a, quote, war on terror that could include any number of smaller or less well-defined conflicts. Cheney argued for the 1% doctrine, also nicknamed the Cheney Doctrine, which says that if there was even 1% chance that a hostile power had developed weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, the U.S. should respond. The U.S. response should be calibrated as if their existence was certain. Cheney also authorized and forcefully defended U.S. military and intelligence force use of enhanced interrogation techniques, including ones previously banned as torture on suspected terrorists and enemy combatants. At home, he pushed for a secret warrantless surveillance program that set aside civil liberty and privacy concerns for the sake of presidential wartime powers. Supported U.S. war with Iraq twice, obviously Bush seniors and Bush juniors administrations. 4, saw increased contracts between government and military. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 ushered a massive global reorientation of military power. As Secretary of Defense, Cheney reshaped U.S. military strategy now that its longtime adversary, the Soviet Union, was crumbling. Cheney's regional defense strategy aimed to hold off new rivals while shrinking the size and cost of the U.S. military. Gaps left by this reduced footprint could be filled by outside contractors. During Bill Clinton's presidency, Cheney became CEO of Halliburton, global petroleum service company whose subsidiary, Kellogg, Brown & Root, KBR, held significant U.S. military contracts. When he accepted Bush's vice presidential nomination, Cheney resigned his corporate role and eventually sold off his Halliburton stock. Helped redefine American presidential power. Dick Cheney was the most powerful U.S. vice president It was in part because of his successes in expanding the boundaries of the president's power as well. Cheney was one of the champions of a, quote, unitary executive theory that interprets the Constitution as granting indivisible executive power largely beyond the reach of legislative or judicial review. Cheney and the thinkers he supported advocated for a unitary executive approach in the context of wartime. Many of Bush's administration's expansions of presidential power were maintained during the administrations of Barack Obama and Joe Biden and expand further under the Donald Trump administrations. You know, it kind of made me think, what if part of the reason that we had to have these forever wars is because, you know, like we got like all of these constitutional violations that were justified by this war. So it's like, well, if war is over, then the justification is over. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, none of your congressmen seem to, you know, kick up a stink. So, you know, if they're not going to, then who will? You know, like all of these abuses of power that all of these presidents have been doing since, like, to the author's point about Cheney, they're allowed to do it. Congress never questions them on it. They never call them out for it. They never, you know, pass anything. So, you know,
it's just like Congress. We always hear this, dude. Like the Congress, like look at the Congress people: Lindsey Graham, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is the people who are in our Congress, right? So these are obviously not intellectual hard hitters.
Sure.
So
but
what do you think they're reading?
There used to be a time, not long ago, by the way, when if the United States wanted to, I don't know, bomb Iran's nuclear facilities, that would need to pass Congress, right?
Yeah.
None of that does
constitutionally,
any of that.
You would think.
Yeah. So you look at the last 20 years, the power of the executive has improved, and the function of Congress, as best I could tell, is just weakened, and weakened by themselves because they're all part of the apparatus too, right? And you know, everybody sees that now. So there's no more talk anymore between the Democrats and the Republicans. Only stupid people talk that way nowadays. Yeah. Only really stupid people.
Only people that and boomers. Everybody, like I'm not going to say every boomer is stupid, but people that eat garbage, media, and people that are dumb.
Right, but the overwhelming majority of people nowadays, outside of that, like you said, the boomer class and the retard class, we all get it now. We all get that. You can have whatever fucking politician you want as long as it's colored black. You know what I mean? Like, we all get that the uniparty exists in all of these Western democracies.
The people have gotten wise to this obvious
we are
bullshit.
Wise now. And given time, very soon, I think, the people will revolt. Give it time. Look at the UK, man. Tinderbox right now. So it's just a matter of time before you start to see a lot of violence because people are just so fed up with this bunch, and we know that they have to be removed.
What's that quote? Those who make a peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable, something like that. So this is off of Dick Cheney's Wikipedia page. Cheney's views on NATO reflected his skepticism about prospects for peaceful social development in the former Eastern Bloc countries, where he saw a high potential for political uncertainty and instability. He felt that the Bush administration was too optimistic in supporting General Secretary of the CPSU, Mikhail Gorbachev, and his successor, Russian President Boris Yeltsin. Cheney not only wanted the breakup of the USSR, but also Russia itself. Cheney worked to maintain strong ties between the United States and its European allies, persuaded the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to allow bases for U.S. ground troops and warplanes in the nation. This was an important element to the success of the Gulf War, as well as a lightning rod for Islamists such as Osama bin Laden, who opposed having non-Muslim armies near their holy sites. So, so much of America's foreign policy failures can be laid at the feet of Dick Cheney. Like, he got the ball rolling on a lot of this stuff.
You're looking at it the wrong way, though. It's your failure. Like, you, as a taxpayer, it's your failure. It's not his failure. He succeeded in what he was brought in to do. He wasn't brought in to help Bradley and get his life. He hates you, okay? He fucking hates you. He hates people like you.
He hates
He
it.
was extremely successful in doing what he needed for his class,
For the
for the
deep
elite
state,
class. Yeah.
the deep
No,
state, the
so
elites.
he didn't fail, Bradley. You think he failed because you think that you and him have the same goals in a conflict or whatever. You don't.
Yeah, no, you
You
don't.
want to win. You want to win to wave your flag and say, "Yeah, fuck America, fuck yeah." He wants to win or lose. Doesn't really matter as long as he can suck dry whatever he's attacking. Okay. So, and if that requires all sorts of taxpayers' money and all sorts of dead men in boxes, so be it. Dick Cheney was extraordinarily successful for his class. Right?
All right. Okay, so we're already low on time. Let me hit the other story that I really wanted to get, which is an update to the Moldovan election, which is going to be another video. Jackson Hinkle, the notorious, what does he call himself, MAGA communist? Let's unmute.
Targets every
About a minute in is probably where it starts.
$12 million USD in fines for simply having.
Man.
Okay, so this lady, she is an ex-Moldovan legislative body official.
She looks like she's been driven hard and put away wet. Holy crap.
And she was
like she's got a hard looking face, eh?
Than anyone else.
Like,
yeah, dude, she's like glaring. This is her soft glare.
Marina is again an opposition politician from Moldova. She was the vice president also of the Shore Party, which was an opposition party that was forced out, and she was sentenced in absentia for 7.5 years prison, $12 million USD in fines for simply having the wrong opinion. So, Marina, thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing?
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor for me. I'm good, and I continue to fight for our country and for our people.
What do you make of these recent elections in Moldova? Because it looks like it was just absolute fraud, silencing of opposition yet again. But I don't even know if Sandu, if her party, if they won the election. It seems like there's a lot of discrepancies out there.
Yes, you are right, and everyone sees it. There were many figures.
I mean, if we saw it,
that cannot be proved, so they just draw some of the results, and we have seen it very concretely in different regions. So with all the pressure, with all their administrative resource, with all their possibilities, with all the support from European leaders, all the funds and etc., they have failed. They have a very weak result. And what they have done, they were just putting a pressure on the people for them not to go out and to vote. They were censoring mass media. They were arresting the opposition politicians and all the people that have had another
a week before the elections.
Was they were doing. And we cannot even call what has happened on 28th of September the elections.
There's clearly no shortage of lip fillers in Moldova. No.
Yeah.
Maya Sandu and PAS just got these places in the parliament by all these methods that I have mentioned.
And when you look at it, you know, Sandu excluded these parties from participating under the guise of saying that they're funded by foreign entities.
I think this is interesting.
Or backed by foreign entities. But I mean, isn't it hypocritical that all these EU leaders that support Sandu were intervening in the election? There's the story with Pavel Durov and Macron trying to silence critics of Sandu on Telegram. Shouldn't she be the one who's locked up in prison for accepting this foreign support?
Yes, you are right. And
see, I never even put that together. Like, yeah, there is massive foreign interference in the Moldovan elections. It's obvious, and it's on its face. It's just obvious.
As well, and material support, because again, we have seen already for many times, not only during these elections, that the grants and
when we do it, it's democratic election interference, though.
Her lips look like a couple of hot dogs.
They what?
Her lips look like a couple of hot dogs. I can't take her seriously. I'm sorry. Call me old-fashioned, but girls, this is not a good look.
Imagine
This
if
is
that's how like just legit what her lips are like. That would be
well, that would be unfortunate.
that would be
Like just if you have any females listening and you're young and fresh, this is not the look you should go for. Please
yeah.
continue.
Yeah. The guys aren't looking for this look.
No.
Funds were accepted in the full campaign by Maya Sandu and PAS, and this is a simple interference in the affairs of the sovereign and independent country Moldova. So what they are trying to tell that we have done, that we were doing, actually they are guilty in these facts. The only thing is that they are in power and that they are trying to silence everyone who has another opinion, who is stating that it's good to be friends with Russian Federation, that we are not going to have some benefits from the cooperation with the European Union, and the people that are, of course, are against of NATO cooperation and of everything what is going on with the militarization facts in our country. So these people, like we are becoming enemies. They are becoming criminals. They are getting sentences like I have and my colleagues, Evgenia Gutsul and our other friends. This is the way how PAS is working. But a big problem is
PAS is Maya Sandu's party.
that we're not
Okay.
about a Moldovan party who is taking with power the authority. We are talking about the European Union who is doing all these things on the territory of a sovereign and independent country. So they are taking the power with force.
Force, got it.
Power.
All right, sweetheart, go put some mustard on that face of yours. Yeah, Moldova's corrupt.
Yeah. This about 4 more minutes.
It has nothing to do with the democracy. It has nothing to do with the rule of law and all these beautiful stories of success that the European leaders and European representatives are telling in our country and in the other countries as well.
Why do European leaders care so much about Moldova?
This is important.
Because obviously the media, it's not an attractive story. It's not a breaking news headline to cover what's going on in Moldova any day of the week. You don't hear it on CNN, but the European leaders were extremely consumed in making sure that they got the correct outcome in this election. And does it relate to Russia, Prednistrovia or Transnistria? What factor does this play in that calculation that they're making?
Everything is very simple. Everything is about Ukraine and the conflict between Russia and
Like we've always said.
So they need our territory and they want to influence our decisions as a country. And all of these steps within the militarization strategy, of course, they are related to the relationships with Russia. And the European Union doesn't care about our people because they don't care that our people have to pay very big amounts of
European Union doesn't care about their own people.
Money for gas, for the communal services, and etc. They are coming, they are stating and declaring nice slogans, words, and etc. And they are continuing to provoke the conflict between Moldova, official Moldova officials, I'm not talking about our people, and Russian Federation. Instead of helping us with something, because even when we are discussing the grants and this European Union support, where is it? I'm not sure if you have been to Moldova, but we're inviting you to see our roads and to see the lack of the simple development what our country needs. Where are all these funds, all these millions, hundreds of millions of dollars and euros that are coming for the infrastructure, for different initiatives in justice, in social sphere, and etc. Where are they? The Moldovans are living very poor. So why these European guys, when they're coming, why they're not asking us Moldovans, look guys, why do you live so bad? We are giving you so much money. Where are this money? We know where are they. They are in the pockets of Maya Sandu, of the governing guys. And again, a very bad story that European Union official representatives don't care that this money are stolen, that they are nowhere. No one sees them.
It's a bribe. The money went exactly where it should have gone. This is not a glitch. This is a feature.
So about which support we can talk. They just need us as a territory, as a labor force, as a possibility to influence the relationships with Russia, and as a NATO outpost.
I'll partially agree with
When
you.
you look at,
I think, yeah, obviously the Moldova and the whole NATO and the Ukraine situation is important for Moldova, but I think it's bigger than that. I think the EU, in recent years in particular, ever since Brexit, especially, they've gotten so paranoid, and because like they're in a pretty precarious position right now, the European Union. And that position is only going to continue to get more precarious as living standards continue to plunge in Europe. What you're going to see is a fracturing of the EU and a breakup of the EU.
Yep.
Because countries will start to look out for their own self-interest because the populations will demand it of the governments. And if they don't do it, they will be forcefully removed.
That's right.
Right?
Orban is popular.
History
Macron is not popular.
History shows that. So I think the Euro class, anytime an election has come up in recent years, they go full bore on the pro EU candidate because the humiliation of a rejection for the EU right now is bigger than anything. Because if a shit country like Moldova rejects the EU and all the goodness that is of the EU,
this is going to accelerate.
Well, what's that to say about everybody else, right? Like, oh, wow, the EU is not that great, eh? Oh, let's start looking under the hood of this fucking place. And they don't want that. So I think it's bigger than Ukraine. This is something that's been percolating for years.
Okay, but like when you look at the countries that they focus the hardest on, yeah, they don't like Slovakia, they don't like Hungary, but they're focusing the hardest on, Serbia. But they're focusing on Georgia, Romania, and Moldova. That's what they're
right.
I feel like that's the
and
main
they're
focus.
pressuring Serbia and any other country that doesn't have all in pro EU. Yeah, rah rah rah. If you're not fully on board with that, project, you're a problem that needs to be dealt with.
And that's really interesting perspective. Like the fact that it's sure Ukraine is, of course, they're obsessed with Ukraine, but it's also partly self-preservation. Like you don't get to say no to us. Everybody wants the EU. Everybody. If you ask Americans and you ask them, have you ever heard of this country called Moldova? First, they're going to say, of course not. But if explain to them where it is, former Soviet Union, all this stuff, they would probably be like, oh yeah, of course, just like everywhere else, they probably want democracy and freedom and to be free from the Russians, right? Like to be free from Russian imperial influence or what have you. But when you actually ask regular Moldovans, we're not going to listen to this whole interview, but near the end of this interview, she gives an estimate for what she thinks is Maya Sandu's actual popularity, and she's like, it's got to be about 14%. So that's like Macron numbers, and that's believable.
There's no sound, dude.
Ooh.
Between the ethnic Russian region of the Donbass, what Ukraine did to that, what NATO, the EU did to those people for so many years, and what I think they
are still doing them. I don't know if you've seen those videos of Ukrainian drone operators bombing grandmas, but like literally,
I saw that.
Freaking
want to do to the quote unquote pro-Russian breakaway region of Transnistria of Moldova, as they dub it. do you think now that they've secured this election victory through fraudulent means in the parliament, do you think that they could possibly take action, the globalists take action on Transnistria? And what do you think that would look like for the people living in Transnistria?
I think it's a very delicate question because, of course, the representatives of the European Union have, let's say, all the cards now in their hands. They can proceed how they want because Maya Sandu and their majority in the parliament will do everything what they will say. And of course, they're not going to take care
That's why they're there.
about the interests, about the feelings of the people that live in Transnistria, in Gagauzia, in general, in Moldova. And they don't care what the opinion policies are telling them and to all of us that Moldovans doesn't want war. They don't want any conflict. We're a peaceful, neutral state, and we should remain like this. And all these provocations and all the aggressive steps, especially with regards to the Transnistrian territory, of course, they understand what they are doing. And what we have noticed as well, that they are leading us according to the Ukrainian scenario.
So Moldovans are noticing exactly what we have said, right? That this is all about Ukraine. So, I mean, I have other stories, but I think we should probably move on to our 2 scoops because we got a bunch of 2 scoops. As promised, we're doubling down on the 2 scoops, and actually we're going to be tripling, if not quadrupling down. We're going to give you guys a lot of crazy today because there's a bunch of crazy to be had in this world. So, yeah, we're not going to be able to cover a bunch of this other stuff. But okay, I guess let's do the fishing video first. If you
The world is waking up, dude, and like we all get it now. Like the world is waking up, so I think it doesn't look good for this globalist crowd. At least that's my hope.
I agree with you. I think that especially over things like Gaza, the world is waking up. Look, Italian news agency fires reporter over questioning EU officials over Gaza. This dude asked, hey, well, you guys say that Russia should pay for the reconstruction of Ukraine because of all the bombing they've done. What about all the bombing Israel has done? Should they pay for the reconstruction of Gaza? Homeboy gets fired.
So, sorry, which one do you want me to play first?
The fishing one. That one's kind of like a standalone.
I don't know the fishing one. I don't have a fishing one. Hold
you
on.
You said that you had the one with the husband and wife?
Oh, the husband and wife. Yeah, I did download it. I just don't know where it is now. Oh, well. It's this one, I think. There you go.
My husband in pictures with me. Got that meh. Got the meh face. Look at that grin.
Somewhere where the road ends, out there where the creek bends, that's where you can find me.
That's his smile with his wife.
That's his can't smile. Disagree with the guy,
All right, so I think that
sometimes it's just nice to be out fishing,
I mean, it's just funny how consistent. Like, hey, you know what? I got every single photo of you holding a fish. I know this is going to be perfect to make my point. This is all like a fake ass smile. I think I don't remember which other we have. Oh yeah, we have the crazy Russian. Then we have the mountain goats and the BMX guy. Mountain goats and BMX belong together. I think we should do that one last. Let's do the crazy Russian next. So guys, one of the things that we have. Oh, okay, this is another interesting one. Hey, look at this. Done fucked around, done found out. Fucked around and found out. That's what just happened. That's what just happened right here.
What happened?
So look, okay, see, look. They have this like bungee string like thing, and they're holding it like idiots. Homeboy just goes. I'm not nothing new.
That's funny.
So yeah, fucked around and found out. That's I don't know how you didn't realize how physics works. You got to this age, but I mean maybe that's the reason why you're engaged in this kind of activity in the first place. First of all, what are you doing in the middle of the street? I mean, I have no idea what they're protesting, but if you didn't see that coming. All right. check this out. Here,
So-
this Russian dude is going to be. I remember. I haven't like forgot how many drones. It's like about 10 drones or something that they send after him, including the drone that's actually spotting. So let's watch it. Well, he's gonna go ring around the rosy. Check this move out.
В темноте, видел путь себе.
Two more.
Раздевай душу до гола. Тебя поломать, либо ты тогда.
He was
We're at
hurt on
6.
that one though.
We're at
Yeah, he
6
was here.
drones right now. Yeah, well,
He was
I
hurt
guess
on that
that's what it looks like. But it's what it looks like. But watch.
Коля не беда, тебе не беда, Коля не беда. Коля не беда, тебе не беда.
Моя душа как сталь, и тогда мне не жаль. Меня не забывай, татараться прощай. Моя душа как сталь, и тогда мне не жаль. Меня не забывай, татараться прощай. Один в поле воин, воин в поле один. Они думали, ты болен, а
He's
ты
back, boys.
непобедим. Один в поле
Ukrainians are down for
воин в поле один. Они думали, ты болен, а ты
Are we sure that's the same guy though?
Yeah. I mean, that's what the.
How can we be sure? Because the other guy looked pretty fucked up.
Well,
right?
you'll see. You'll see him walk. He'll win. Another one.
Коля не беда, тебе не беда.
There we go. So that's not the first
I am
time we've seen.
skeptical.
You're sketched out by it. Okay, I think I.
No,
I
I'm
don't know.
skeptical. I'm skeptical that it was the same guy because we can't be sure. But still, hey, I guess my question is, why are the Ukrainians tried buzzing so many drones at just one target? Do they have that many? Good
They
for
keep
them.
doing this, so that's the thing. They'll well, you know that we discussed. They'll be bombing freaking grandmas that are
Sure.
even other Ukrainian soldiers that are trying to surrender or something. So yeah, they will waste those munitions when they aren't needed. This is kind of what happens when you fight with your heart instead of your head, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So the bike.
Okay, do the mountain goat first and then the bike.
Oh, too late.
All right, bike.
Ah.
Okay, whatever, whichever. They both work.
It's too late now. I'll do it in the order you request. So you want that?
Okay. I want the mountain goat first.
Alrighty.
All right, look at these motherfuckers, right? Everybody knows how badass mountain goats are. Here they are, just absolutely effortlessly surpassing this obstacle course, right? Now, if humans
That is
want
pretty
to
wild.
achieve this, if humans can and have tried to achieve this feeling that those mountain goats must be feeling. And there's 2 ways to go about this. And the first way is the next video. There's 2 ways to do
Alright.
this to achieve these mountain goat badass obstacle course feels.
Okay.
Look at this guy. Shit, dude. I would be terrified. I would never do this. This is awfully terrifying. I'm just terrified looking at it. All right. So here we have homeboy doing mountain goat exercise number 1, and then I'm about to share with you. Can you share my screen again?
Yeah,
The
sure.
other way that people have attempted this this magnificent lifestyle of the mountain goat, and that is of
Oh, I
course,
gotta remove some stuff. Here we go.
you gotta share my screen again. Yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta remove a few things. It says. I mean, that was impressive bikesmanship, if that's what it's called.
Impressive. Both of those are impressive, but it's going to be not as crazy. And they're both impressive and they're both crazy. I think that guy is probably a screw loose, half a bubble off a plum, as they say. Well, here's how. Man from, what was his name? Thomas Thwaites adopted a prosthetic hooves as part of his venture. Man who spent 9 months trying to live like a goat wanted a break from all this stress. So I did not see that in this story. I tried to find a story that talked about it, but he actually even tried to get a medical professional to give him a lobotomy so he could be like mentally retarded too, like a goat. Anyway, have you ever thought that your life might just be easier if you were a goat? No, I've never thought that before. Not a single time in my life. No bills to pay, no job to do. You don't think goats have jobs to do? Are you kidding me? Eating grass, bleeding, being cute.
Is he British? Because only a British person would. Okay. Again, me. Jeez, pat on the back.
You figured it out. Figured it out before we even got to it. Good job.
Well, only a British man would be this fucking broken, right? Like these people exist in the UK and nowhere else. Please continue.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's not a lot humans can do to transform themselves into goats and escape their responsibilities. Unfortunately for Thomas, right? Responsibilities of day-to-day life. But a few years ago, author Thomas Thwaites gave it his best shot. In his book titled Goat Man, How I Took a Holiday from Being a Human, Thwaites described how he adopted prosthetic hooves and attempted to eat a diet of grass in order to live more like a goat, after having thought for years that his life would be much less stressful as an animal. You already are an animal. You're Homo sapien. And this guy is just Homo. He's not sapient. If Homo sapient means man wise, I don't know how sapient that guy is. Okay. In an interview with BBC Radio 4 today's program, Thomas Thwaites recalled thinking as a child that he wouldn't have to go to school if he was a cat, and later building on his wishful thinking after dog sitting his niece's happy, joyous dog. Dude, I would not trust this guy around my dog or my cat.
I got to tell you, Thomas, Thomas, if you ever wake up one morning or every morning and say to yourself, gee, I wonder why I'm not getting any pussy. Well, Thomas, think of your life choices. Start there. Okay? This is not an attractive look.
No, look at this guy. He's literally, this is his hooves. He's like, he's showing this off with his face. People can see your face, bro. You should remove these hooves, but keep the helmet on.
Well, it's unfortunate I'm alone. I wonder what the problem could be.
You know what? I bet if I was a goat, the goats would love me. Guess what? Goats also rejected. The goats also spat him out of their goat society. That's why his plan only lasted 3 days. Also, you can't actually eat grass if you're a human and survive. I did a bit of research, and you can easily find all the cave paintings depicting half humans and half beasts, he explained. This is where really where the gears start in his head. Thwaites spent 9 months bringing his ideas together, with his funding helping pay for the prosthetic limbs, including 2 extra legs and hooves made by a doctor at the University of Salford Prosthetics Clinic. Are you kidding me? He got a doctor to do this. This doctor didn't say, okay, yeah, you know what? Take him away in a straitjacket. This doctor made him the hooves.
Well, he's a British doctor, though.
He's a British doctor. That's right.
Yeah, because he's a doctor, he's still a man, and he's still a British man.
And he's still a Brit.
By nature of just being born on that backward island, he is borderline retarded.
Shithole of a country. Yeah, he's no wonder he was like
every single one of them. And the more I talk to British people, the more I realize that it's the accent. They fucking faked this out on the accent for hundreds of years, thinking that wow, that sounds sophisticated. It sounds smart coming out of this fucking airhead's mouth. We figured you out, UK. We figured you all out.
I think plus also the UK did a good job of putting their best foot forward for a while. Like we got like, what's that guy from Top Gear, Jeremy? What's his face? We had the Walter Cronkite. So all this, they did a good job for a while, but now we can actually see this is
like once you get past like the Jeremy Clarkson and the few that are there who for some reason they haven't completely just drilled a
Lobotomized them.
Yeah. So yeah, they kind of set them up like, hey, there's Ricky Gervais. He seems okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the UK, yeah, Ricky Gervais is there, Clarkson's there.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Beatles.
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
No.
But
This
you
is
look-
not the Beatles. This is
No.
Thomas Thwaites. This is actually the true face.
This is just an everyday person. This is what they're all like there. Like they're just, and we should have figured it out because think about it. This is the same country where the men get off on dressing up like nuns on a Sunday. Like that's a thing. Like the whatever and the vicars parties and all this shit. They do this stuff for fun, and it's a thing there. And we never caught on once that that's the accent.
we got
We never
hoodwinked.
caught up until now.
Got
We're on
hoodwinked.
to you now.
You
We're
know what?
on to
Also,
you, bunch of weirdos.
You know what
and
else?
Your weird, stupid royal family.
You know
and
what else
those
heard
bunch of
it?
idiots. We're on to you.
You know what else
Fuckers.
heard it? All of those movies where the genius villain, the brainiac villain, right, is this British
James Bond,
mastermind.
another one.
All those, yes. So I think you also have that where it's like, just like Andrei Martyanov always says, the reason why people like Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg went to the school, the tactical training school of what was that movie about Patton? Probably called Patton. I think it's called Patton. Of Patton, right? Like just watching that movie and believing that is reality. So if that happens on that level, oh, you best believe it happens on the level of like boomers who are watching the news, right? So yeah, okay. He also looked into getting a fake stomach that would help him digest grass, but had to give up on that plan over warnings of health issues. Thank God. Somebody was like, okay, listen, bro, one of these days you're going to wake up and you realize, what have I done? I just plastered my face all over the entire internet, all over the news. People can see that I am a retard now. No. Okay, so the author eventually traveled to a farm in the Alps to fully immerse himself in goat life, after which he described the three-day experience on the farm as a special kind of time. Yes, a special kind of time for a special kind of man, of course. His book documents his hilarious and surreal journey through engineering, design, and psychology, and teases, will he make it? Do Thwaites and his readers discover what it truly means to be human? The venture came from Thwaites' previous book, The Toaster Project, described how he built a toaster from scratch after being inspired by Douglas Adams' book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the character finds himself unable to build a toaster after landing on a primitive planet. After his days as a goat.
So he built a toaster in the 21st century versus the hitch. Like the two are not the same, stupid. But sure, good on you.
We've already figured out how dumb he is, though. Like his logic, his reasoning is like, hey, you know what? I think my life would be easier as a goat. Are you serious? Did you see what those mountain goats were doing? You think your life would be easier doing that?
Like I said, Thomas, there's no hope for you to ever have any sort of relationship with anyone. So
wait, there could be another Thomas out there.
Kind of fun. No, the padded walls do seem kind of fun. I never understood why that was a drawback for because you'd always see him like strapped up, banging against the walls. I always thought that looked like fun to me, right? So I was like, yeah, cool. I could do that for a weekend for sure. Thomas, look into it.
Yeah, I mean, it might be another book idea for you, you know? So basically, yes, this is not the first time men have looked at the goats and said, I need to be able to do that. Except for this guy said, I need a break. I think you're coming up with the wrong, if you need a break, there's a lot of, what do they call them? Quadrovers? People that are into pretending that they're cats or something. Why don't you do that? I have a cat. He sleeps 3/4 of his life.
Thomas, check out Hawaii. You'll be fine for a couple weeks. You'll come back feeling like a new man. You don't have to create a new stomach for yourself.
Yeah, you can actually chill out and relax. Here's what you do. Here's my instructions for chilling out and relaxing. You go on vacation. Okay, Hawaii. I've never been to Hawaii, but let's say you go. He likes the mountains, right? You go snowboarding. Where I live, snowboarding is really popular. You go out here. You do these kinds of sports. You throw away your phone. You turn it off. You're not listening to your phone, especially if you're this guy. You should definitely be not reading any stupid news, not getting any stupid ideas in your head. Just simply relax, learn to ski or something.
Padded cell, Thomas. Padded cell. Sounds great. Anyway, I think we're done.
guess
Have
so.
a great week, everyone.
All right,
and
guys.
We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, we'll see you guys next week, most likely, if not on DPA Open Mic. Peace.
All right. Cheers.